Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome, Coyote North. Sunday, beautiful Sunday. Objective today is just talk about the car, talk about best mods, worst mods, at least for me, Boss 302, and share some of that stuff with my viewers. So hopefully they don't make the same mistakes that I've made. So building a NA car, as you all know, is not cheap. It's pretty expensive. I don't do my work. What work I can do, I do. Some of the bolt-ons, but most of the work I have done. I usually have Scott's Auto do my work. I trust him. He's actually a friend of mine. He's a big Ford guy, and it works out. It's a great shop. So for example, cost-wise for a rare gear change, roughly, these are rough estimates. Every shop's going to be a little bit different. About $150 for your gears. I want to say somewhere in the area of $90 for your bearing kit. Labor, 6 to 7 hours, so roughly about $700 for labor. You have another $150 for parts, and then well, add your bearing kit. Now we're talking about gear change because that was the first mod I made. I purchased the car stock 373s. It had a cold air intake, it had cat deletes, and at that time, being an old hot rodder, the best thing I thought I can do to make the car quicker was to a gear change. So that's what I did. I went to a 410. I didn't do my homework. Come to find out, the first gear ratio is very, very tight, or low, I should say. I think it's 3.66 to 1 for the first gear. For example, the Shelby Gt350 has a 2.66. Old school Ford top loader transmissions had a 1.9. So when I went to that gear, it felt great. It kind of hooked. The car wasn't making that much power then. And then as we proceed to mod, I got into a situation where I realized I needed suspension work. Even though I did all my suspension work, lower control arms, upper control arm, relocation brackets, I mean the whole schmeal in the back. And even with the Mickey Thompson ET street tires, I'm struggling to hook up. What I'm finding out from other Boss owners, S197 owners, you go to a 410 gear, it's basically worthless. Ren Speed, I watch a lot. A big shop out of Indiana. They have a car called Blue Balls. I recommend you guys watch that. He brought that car back, put a Gen 2 motor in it. He went 1070s. That's my radar detector going off. I don't leave home without it now. Nobody's around though, which is really strange. He ran a 1070 with that car, but what he had is a pretty stout rear suspension, which was a Sita anti-roll bar for drag racing only for the launch. And they ended up moving away from the dual disc clutch because it grabbed too hard. That's what I have. I'm not making any changes there. What I'm trying to say is, worst mod to do to your car, in my opinion, unless you're going strictly drag racing and you're doing that full bolt-on for drag only, is go to a 410 gear. So I don't recommend anybody doing that. Where everybody's going, and even on like on your 4-speed cars, they have trouble hooking up, is going to a taller gear. So I do have my stock gears. I'm considering going back to that. That's another $700 more or less charge. I don't think I need the bearing kit because that stuff's relatively new. So anyways, guys, don't go that way. Don't go down that road. I'm thinking either 373, 355. And at that, hopefully I don't have to make a tire change. Again, that's another $800, maybe to $1,000 for wheels and getting a good tire. So, the second worst mod, if you like noise, if you like loud, Pipes exhaust. Alright, I went to Pipes, removed the mufflers. It's a Muffler Delete. It's great for a while, it's cool, but after a while it just drives you crazy. I don't recommend going there. If you drive the car a lot, don't go there. If you're a weekend warrior and you're still having fun, you know, maybe it's your bag. But I ended up going back because I also kind of felt that the car lost some performance with open exhaust. I could see it in my videos. I could feel it, and other people notice it too. So when I went back to the mufflers, and I also had my exhaust uncorked, my side pipes uncapped. We recapped those. We went to the GT500 mufflers, and the car just woke up. It was great. So again, in my opinion, second worst mod. Let's talk about throttle bodies. If you're willing to gain 10 to 12 horsepower, 85 is the way to go. I had them both. I had them dynoed both on a chassis dyno and a Mustang dyno. And the 90mm throttle body made 1 more horsepower over peak horsepower over the 85. The 85 had a higher average horsepower. Unfortunately, I don't have those numbers. That was shared with me by the tuner. I can go back and look, but I don't think it's there in my dyno sheets. So if you're upgrading to a throttle body and you're naturally aspirated, 85, maybe 87, maybe the ticket. 90 is too big, it's just too much air to push through there. If you have a supercharger, like a Pro Charger, 90 is the way to go. Or if you're boosted in any way, 90 is the way to go. Other than that, let's talk about long tube headers. Now let's take a step back. Your 85mm throttle body, I believe it was a $550 purchase. Now, because it's moving just 5mm up, it didn't require a tune. It's recommended you have a tune, but I did it without a tune. Later, when I did get it tuned. So, again, I made that change myself, did the labor. Of course, there's no cost there. So that's, you know, it's a little pricey for what you get. So like I said, building a naturally aspirated car is not cheap. One of the best mods I did, we talk about the blow shift racing bracket. We had serious high RPM lockout. About 1 out of 3 shifts, gears are crunching. It wasn't going in gear. It just wasn't mating up. Since I put the blow shift racing bracket, which mounted my shifter to the top of that transmission, I have not missed a gear since then. That is one of the best mods. I believe it's a $250 purchase, more or less. Again, another install. I don't remember. I want to say 3 to 4 hour install, so it was well worth it. Highly recommend that install if you're going to do that. As far as all the suspension mods, it's working. I think what's killing me is the low gear, my 410 gear ratio. So let's back up now. Here's a big mod that was a chunk of change, about $3,000. Ported intake, and that doesn't include, I guess it does. That includes the purchase of 50-pound injectors. So I got the Etchworks 50-pound-an-hour injectors installed. Ported intake, JMS fuel booster, N gauge. I went to the N gauge because it's easier to work with, and data log. Labor and dyno tune. We did 2 dyno tunes. We did a 93 and the E85. That's set me back about $3,000. That's a chunk of change. Again, going fully NA, it is not cheap. It's rewarding because you got a great running car going down the road, but it is not cheap. Let's talk about cams. I've been sitting on these cams now probably a year and a half. I have the Ford Racing Boss cams. These are not stock cams in a Boss. They up the intake 1 more millimeter to 13 from 12. The exhaust duration is 263 from a 260. In fact, that cam, funny, I'm pretty sure it's the same cam that is in the Gen 2 Mustang on the intake side. However, Ford Racing sold it for a phenomenal amount of money versus stock. So anyways, it is what it is. Those cams, I don't know if I mentioned already, about $1,500. The exhaust cam now is a 13 millimeter lift and 290-degree duration. So that's going to be held open longer to build or to get my exhaust gases out. Now, these Gen 1 engines are maxed at 13 millimeter lift. We cannot go any higher than that, and that comes out to, if anybody's wondering, 514 thousandths inch lift. And so it's just over half an inch. So to compare it to a Ford Mustang GT 2018 and up, the Gen 3, those also, which Ford hasn't shared, I did a video on this, they also have a Gt350 Cam. Those cams are a 14 millimeter lift cam, which comes out to just a touch over 550 thousandths of an inch. So that's some decent lift. And those heads and those Gt350s flow like a monster. I read information on those at 500 inch lift. I want to say they flow around 340 CFM, which is phenomenal. So anyways, cams are expensive. $1,500. Now we're talking about labor, getting these things installed. It's not cheap either. Some shops will charge $2,000. So be aware. Again, not cheap. And when we do this, we have the parts to put in the billet steel oil pump gears. I got a stronger crank gear. I have some lighting pulleys for the water pump. I have a Cobra Jet water pump going on, and I also have a lightened phasers for the rotating weight. So again, that's gonna set me back. I'm not sure. I'm estimating with the tune around to $2,000. Now I probably will go with one tune, the 93 tune, and leave it at that. That should boost engine horsepower 30 maybe to 35. So that whole install over time, and if you're wondering why, you know, my videos have slowed down, well, money pit is starting to run dry. So going NA is expensive. Now, on the upside, I'm getting myself set up in a better position. So, long term, I want to get my cams actually done this fall. I'm still investigating that, but problem is I don't know where this car stands in a quarter mile. I know it rocks. I know it's fast. It'll give you a thrill ride. You can feel the G-forces, but getting out of the hole, she doesn't want to hook if I lay into it hard. Where you gain your ET is out of the hole, launching these cars. So if you can hook and launch, so that's why I want to go to a taller gear. So that's where we're at. That's what I wanted to do. I'm still evaluating what do I want to do next. Do I want to get it changed? I have an opportunity today to get to the track, and it didn't work out. It's an hour and 20 minutes away. There is another opportunity this month. I didn't realize Martin is open till the end of October. It's just gonna be colder. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's going to work. And I don't want to go and have a fail and waste out on time, money. Anyways, so some of the other mods, as far as worst mods, I brought up the long tube headers. Great headers. Dynotech Performance, the longest header you can buy. The longer header you have, the more horsepower you can make. What I don't like about these headers, my ground clearance is minimal. I mean, they hang down low. We probably have maybe 3 inches now since I put the other springs in the rear of my car, which boost me up a hair. I want to say maybe 2 3/4 before it was tight. So I don't drive this car that much, not a big deal. But for you guys out there, if you're everyday driving, you go over speed bumps or some uneven, you know, driveways or whatever, you could risk scraping them headers. So do your homework on your headers and find out, you know, the mid-length for what you gain in the header is not huge. But I just want to say, do your homework. Other than that, I'll be honest with you, everything else I've done with the car, I'm super happy with. The cold air intake rocks. JLT2, I gotta check engine light on that, just popped up. Sorry, that's crazy. There's no reason for that either. I didn't do anything. And here's the drill. As you mod, right? Ever since my E85 tune, it's getting misfire codes. So let's talk about Billet aluminum flywheel. Great mod. Car RPMs like a rocket, fast, and of course it's even worse, you got a 410 gear. I think it's a great mod. The one-piece drive shaft, let's talk about that. That's a great mod. 17-pound weight reduction, and the Billet aluminum flywheel was 11 pounds because I weighed all my parts. The biggest thing I noticed and what took away from the car was a one-piece drive shaft. Why? It went back to like a 60s, old 60s or 70s muscle car. What it did is took away some of that drivability, a lot of vibration. It took out that smoothness you had out of that dual drive shaft. You can, you know, creep in a low gear, low RPM, no vibration. Going down the road, if I'm going 30 miles an hour and it's 3,000 RPM, you hear this, you know, you have vibration. I have to get down to a 4th gear or 3rd gear, run about 2,000 RPM to get that vibration away. So it takes some of that niceness out of the car that, you know, adds a little pleasure to driving. I don't mind it because, again, this car for me is just a toy. It's a weekend warrior. But if you're driving your car all the time, every day, I don't know if it's the best mod. It does help secure, you know, safety in a sense of those drive shafts are known to break at the junction. But it did definitely pick me up power to the rear wheels, and that's when I really started having traction control problems at that point. And then after my tune, it just went off the hook. So that's where we're at. I want to share those mods. As far as my rear suspension, we did lower control arm, Steeda Billet aluminum, Steeda upper control arm, BMR relocation brackets to bring our lower control arms down because we had the wrong angle on those. Those mods I think are good for any car, and that work I did myself. So except for the upper control arm, I just couldn't get to it, couldn't get the car up high enough. As far as the Billet aluminum flywheel, we did a clutch change while that was all out. That was like an 8-hour job. So again, that wasn't cheap, but everybody's going to go down that road when you have to do a clutch change. I didn't need it. There was mild wear. I had 13,000 miles on the car, but it was stock clutch, and it was time to upgrade. So that clutch will now hold up to 800 horsepower, more than my transmission. And I do want to forewarn my channel, I don't want to put a bunch of crap out there just to put stuff out, because it's not value added to me. But we will try and add some things, but like I said, I am not a high volume producer, and that's just kind of where we're at. So things are going to be slow. I want you to know. I want to thank my new subscribers for subscribing. I hope you like the channel. Check out some of the old stuff. There's cool things. We got a couple cars going on, you know, Super B and the Boss. But anyways, that's pretty much it. So thanks to you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'll try and keep the content coming, but again, it's not going to be plentiful. All right, but I appreciate all your support. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Coyotes North. Take care.